started wearing watches. No, I didn't start wearing watches. I like watches.
Do you really?
I do. So I have like a decent, like I have like 5 watches. So I'd say that's a decent amount of watches.
I think
Like
it's
5.
one for every finger, man.
Yeah, right. There you go. So I like them. But now I don't like that. I look like I'm wearing 2 watches.
Yeah, I know.
Which is, like,
now
kinda
that you
stupid.
pointed, I wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, right.
Is that a fossil watch?
No, I have a fossil watch though. This is actually, so this is my the first watch I ever got. It's a Guess watch, which is not like a typical watch that I would buy. So I have an, what do I have? I have a Armani watch. I have a Fossil watch. I have a Shinola watch. I have one of my,
Shit or Shinola?
yeah, my buddy got that. Man, my buddy for his wedding
I
got
remember you
that for
telling
us
me.
as like gifts for I was his best man, but like he got it for all the guys standing in the wedding. I was like, holy, that's excessive. But anyways, this one is a Guess watch, and this is the first one. My uncle got it for me when I was in high school, when I was like 15 maybe. And the reason I like this one is the band of it is a F1 tire.
Oh, I can see that now.
Cool, eh? So anyways, I just got the batteries changed on them, so I'm gonna start wearing them more. I like them, and I do actually use it to check the time. If you can
Cool.
imagine that.
The only jewelry I like is having 3 earrings in each of my ears and a bone through my nose. No, I can't wear anything.
I know you're
I
not a
got the
jewelry guy.
whoop. That's to keep me.
I used to wear a chain too.
Yeah.
I was into
Yeah.
the chain for
Yeah.
a while.
I wear my whoop just so I know what my heart rate and all that shit is, and
I'm a
no
little bit.
no cologne.
Yeah.
I wear deodorant.
Yeah, you should.
I
Yeah.
shower every now and then,
Yeah.
but no jewelry, no excess, no colognes.
I don't wear it without a purpose. So like I have my
Right.
engineering ring, which I like.
Yeah. I saw a comment. Someone, I don't know if they were carving you for your little ring,
Oh really? I didn't see
or
it.
if it was an engineer saying "nice ring."
Oh really? I didn't.
Yeah,
see
I
it.
don't know. Like, because in text you can't tell the tone of stuff, right?
Right. Interesting.
So, did you check if the mics are on?
Yeah, they're on.
Okay. No, I'm just no. You don't.
Now I don't.
Well, because we were doing stuff earlier. Yeah, I don't know if he was saying nice ring, nice little ring there, guy,
Yeah, I
or if
know.
it was like, hey, nice engineering ring.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I'm just letting you know
Yeah, I got
that
it.
you had that.
I started not wearing my chain and stuff because of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because I'd forget to take it off, and then I go and I have this chain on, and I go take it off. So I started taking it off, and then I just left it off. I wore that chain. Remember the chain?
Yeah,
I literally wore it for like 10 years probably. Then never took it off. Crazy. And then, things change. People change. So
How hard do you think a drop pass is?
a drop pass, not hard. Like just leave
honestly,
it.
okay. I mean, you don't think it's hard?
Well, okay, so make the question, how hard is a drop pass? Like how hard do you give a drop pass?
No. How hard is it to perform the skill, if you want to call it a skill, of a drop pass or like when you're just leaving the puck, so it's not going forward. So a drop pass, leaving it, or actually
Really-
drop it
Really not hard.
at all.
No.
Okay, so I was do this drill once in a while, and I was doing it today. So you just simply it's a fun drill.
Shout out Howie's board here. Do
Yeah.
you want a marker? I got one.
I don't need, no, it's not important. So opposite lines leave. They leave a puck, so drop a puck at the red line, pick it up on the other side and shoot, and then you add variations of passing and stuff. So drop the puck. So when you say drop the puck, drop past the puck or deaden the puck, right? So you're skating and you leave it there. So when kids, I gave it to them today. So I get frustrated with it because like drop pass, because you're doing a drill and if it goes forward, like you ruin the whole drill. Even if it's 2 feet. No, you do. You ruin the whole drill. You ruin the whole purpose. That's drop pass. So like how many times I stop, I go, guys, like I lose my shit. It's a drop pass. Drop means behind you, not forward. Like I don't even understand. So I was watching some of the technique on guys and they would stop and then they'd actually and these are not bad hockey players. So then today I just started, there's a point to this. It's like, it's a simple skill, right? The point of this was, so today I said, okay, here's the deal. If you do the drop pass today and it goes 1 millimeter forward, I'm going to stop it right now. You're going to do push-ups, or I'll pull you aside. You're going to do push-ups. And they kind of giggled and stuff. So we had some pretty good players. It went forward. So I said 10. And they said, well, it didn't. So I'd be like, it's a drop pass, right? A drop pass, not a forward drop pass. It's impossible. So anyways, then it was like you couldn't get someone to move it forward. It was like whatever. It was all good after that. After four guys did push-ups. So I called them in just before I switched sides and all that stuff. I said, why the hell did you guys learn how to do a drop pass so well? Like after like a couple minutes, they said, well, because you didn't want to do push-ups. I said, oh, okay. The point is, what I told them was, the difference is now is that you had a consequence and that you put a value on, a value on it, and that you chose to care about it. So doing the drop pass is not a hard skill at all. 0. It's your give a shit meter was 0. So you didn't care. You didn't pay attention to details, and there was no consequence for it, which there really shouldn't be for that. But your care factor kicked in. And once you cared and gave a shit and tried to do something well, then it would execute it properly. So I was saying, like, basically any skill that you're doing, that's what it takes. Listen to your coach. Listen to the details. Don't let the coach snap, right? Like, drop the puck. The drill needs to be this way, and when people leave things out, like, that's what happens. So the give a shit meter is important.
I feel like that's the frustrating part, because it's like, that they can do it. I think that's why it's annoying. It's like, they're not, like you said, they're not bad hockey players. They did it. When you put a consequence, it's like, why do I have to give you a consequence? Why can't you just do it the right way?
This is my point. So like, and this is like, okay, so then Monday morning we started, and it was like, started off, and I'm like, oh, I did.
Yeah.
Did you see the little act I did on the ice?
No, I didn't, but I heard.
Well, you have to show them sometimes. Like, it was so. I told one kid to leave, and I told him today. I said, because he was on fire today. I said, do you think it was beneficial? I said, it's not. I'm not trying to be an asshole when I'm a coach. When you come here on Monday morning, it's not my problem. I remember I had an NHL group after a long weekend in the summertime.
I remember this story.
One of the boys, I'm not going to say, came up and said, it's pretty hard right now. And I said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, we're warming up. And he played for Montreal at the time. And so he come back to me after, he had something else to say. I said, just leave then. He goes, well, I said, dude, here's the problem, right? As a coach, I said, you guys hire me to run, to do a good job. If I come in here and come in with the same excuse as you, say, it's a long weekend, I don't really feel like doing a good job. Who gets fired? Not you, me, right? So you work hard or leave. And he chose to leave that day. So why would I say that? So yeah, I kicked someone off the ice yesterday. I said, I'm not trying to be an asshole. But when you come in on a Monday morning, like, it's not like I'm prepared. And when you guys come in with like zero effort, like because you're tired or whatever, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And it's a pump up session every now and then. So I got one kid off the ice, but I had to give them an example, because we had the grandkids over. You ever hear, you know what a sound machine is?
Yep.
Yeah, for babies.
Yep.
Helps them
It's
go
like
to
white
sleep.
noise or waves or whatever.
So I was explaining to them. I said, we just had the grandkids over. I said they had the baby, what's it called? Sound machine. I said, but I got a new one. I said, I'm going to record this session here. And I said, watch what'll happen. And so I stuck my thumb in my mouth. I laid on the ice and fell asleep. I said, this is easier than this. This will knock anyone out faster than a sound machine will.
You laid on the
57 ice. Laid on the ice like this. Eh? Just the noise of this boring practice with no communication.
I didn't know that you did that. That's hilarious.
Nothing could wake me up either.
Were they losing it?
They were laughing.
Oh my god, that's so
the best,
funny.
and that's the only energy I had that day.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, no, it is part of the learning for a lot of those kids though, man. Because it's like, man, I've told you that story before of when I watched that video of Steve Yzerman on YouTube, how tired he was when he came off the ice, and I was just like realizing I didn't know what it meant to work hard. It's like it's part of the process for a lot of those guys, but while they're trying to learn it, man, it can be frustrating.
Well, that's actually my topic. Speaking of that, for when I do my leadership class on Thursday, tomorrow, is about like what is actually hard.
Yeah.
What do you consider hard?
Yeah, cool. So I got
with it.
Yeah, I got a message from somebody that it follows us, and they kind of gave me a little spiel that I thought would be good to go over today, because the last like several episodes we've been talking a little bit more high level. We've been talking a lot about the draft and like junior and all that stuff. So this one will bring us back down to some more youth levels for parents and stuff like that. And it's like some of the questions like we've talked about before, and it's good to kind of get the refresh. It was funny because I was talking to Charlie the other day about I think you're in here. We were talking about the podcast, and he's like, "Man, haven't you guys like talked about everything already? Like, is there like, you ever run out of topics or whatever?" And I'm like, "No, because it's the same, it's always versions of the same story with like different examples slightly or slightly different circumstances, and people want to hear things that are specifically about their exact situation. And I've realized this even for myself listening to podcasts is if like Peter Attia does a nutrition podcast, I've listened to 100 of his nutrition podcasts already. Every time I see a nutrition podcast, I will listen to it. And it's just something I'm interested in. It's a topic that I'm interested in. And I think it's good for people to listen to and hear and pick up new details and information that applies to them in their situation. So as much as like there's overlap in some of the things that we talk about, it's always very current and relatable to whichever demographic we're talking about for a specific episode. So for this one, like some of these questions I'm reading, and I know we've talked about some of these things, but it'll be good to kind of like string them together again for this specific age group, because these are for young kids. So I'm going to read it and then we'll go through it kind of like, I think a few episodes, well, maybe a bunch of episodes ago now, we did one of these. So we'll do the same kind of thing. So this was the message. I'm going to just read from it here. Really enjoy listening to your youth hockey content on YouTube. I've learned a lot, so thanks for putting it out there. I have a question that I was hoping to get some guidance on from people that really understand the sport. I grew up playing hockey in Western New York. I played house league until high school, and then I played AA travel. I now have 3 boys that I've taught to skate and play hockey. They're 5, 7, and 3. They really enjoy playing together either on the outdoor rink or the street or at open hockey. Last season was the first time playing organized hockey. They had a blast and developed so much. We'd like to continue on the path of keeping hockey fun and growing. Everyone around us is so focused on travel hockey from age 6 on. Mid Fairfield is the premier program in our area, but there are also a lot of other travel hockey programs. A lot of families start their kids in private lessons at age 4 or 5 before, during, or after school. They only play hockey all year, 3 to 7 days a week, depending on the time of year. Our goal is for the kids to be able to go to play high school hockey when the time comes, assuming they still enjoy it. It's hard to watch these 5 to 7-year-olds, some of which are great players, on the travel teams and not want your children to be that good. It makes you want to join the arms race, even though I know it's not healthy or right for the kids at such a young age. I'm curious what your advice to the parents watching on how intense everyone else is around them. If we don't try to keep up at a younger age, will our children ever have a chance to compete for a spot on a team against these other kids that are already so much better? Do things eventually even out? Do most of these kids that go super intense really young burn out by 12 years old? Any help or guidance you can offer is greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance for your time and help. So we're zooming back down to the young ones now. So we're talking, this guy's got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, 3-year-old.
You know what? I have a problem with this guy already. Not this guy. He said they're 5, 7, and 3. I don't like the order.
He said 7, 5, and 3.
Oh, you just said 5, 7, and 3?
Oh, did I say it out of order?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Okay.
said 7. He
so
said
it's
it in
you,
order.
not him.
Yeah, it's me.
I was gonna say
He said it in order.
Okay.
That would be something that normally would piss me off. That would make my OCD go crazy. But yeah, he said it in order. 7, 5, 3, descending order. So he's got 3 boys. Seems like he's got a pretty. Obviously I don't know this guy, but seems like he's got a pretty good mindset about it. Like they want it to be fun. They want him to grow. He's trying to resist the urge to do more and everything and lessons and travel and all of this stuff. So maybe just thoughts on just generally like your first impression hearing it, and then we'll go back to like the specific questions and like address them individually. So just do like general thoughts first, maybe.
General
like
thoughts.
What strikes you about it?
Just general thoughts. I can go deep on any of these things. General thoughts. Private lessons for 4, 5, and 6 years old.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, come on, let's stop. Do people get burned out? That all depends. It totally depends who's pushing the who's driving it and whatever. And when people get burned out, like you don't get burned out if you don't work hard anyways. Like I've seen a lot of people that take lessons and they don't even work hard, or they go to all these camps and just not hard work. They don't even know what it is to work hard. And hockey is like in general, it's not meant to be a pro. Sports, you're not meant to be a pro. Like that's not why you play sports when you grow up. The kid can dream that. That's what keeps them motivated, and that's every kid. Like even I never played a game of organized football in my life, but when we played football in the backyard or when we went to a football field to play, I was in my head playing for whatever team, right? Kansas City Chiefs, and I was the quarterback or the running back, and I was pretending to be a pro. That's the extent of what a pro should look like until you're actually good. But you should, of course, dream about it. But yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's
So
start.
have fun, man. Have fun.
Let's
Parents
start
too.
with this, because I don't know that we've necessarily ever answered this question explicitly. He kind of said, kind of the first thing, curious what your advice is to parents watching how intense everyone else is around them. So like, before we get into like the specific questions, I don't know if we've like addressed this in general in the past. I'm sure we've talked around it, maybe like talking about it a little more specifically or directly. What would your I'm trying to formulate this into a question. What do you think about as a parent, like you've been in it and you've been fortunate enough to know better in most situations from a hockey perspective, but you've been around the crazy, like you've been around my kid needs to do all these things. We need to do the spring hockey tournament. We need to do this and this and this and this. And you've been in that. And what would your advice be in that situation to parents that are in that, watching what everyone else is doing? Like what advice do you give to those parents when they're in that kind of situation and they're maybe feeling the heat a little bit about trying, like, oh shit, like should I be doing this thing that everyone's doing? Like should I, if you don't really know, I guess.
You know, it's funny. Like I have my own thoughts, like for me and my life, and that doesn't work for most people. I do my own thing with everything.
Like you, well, still share your perspective.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
What is it?
I do my own with everything. If everyone here is going on the carnivore diet, I promise you I will not go on the carnivore diet. That's just me. If everybody, and it's actually a pretty good, I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker here, but it's actually a pretty good way to live your life. If 50 people, if everyone's doing one thing, don't do it. It's probably not the right thing.
Okay, so let me pause there, because like being able to do that comes with, like, you need to have a certain level of confidence. You need to have a certain level of security.
I know. That's my point.
So what do you think it is that, because I would give people the same advice. I would say the same thing. I would say you need to figure out what is the best for your situation and your family and your circumstance to make a choice. And the way to do that and like you should take into account outside influence to some degree, because that's how you learn things and grow and all that stuff to a degree. That's one way to do it. But for you to be confident enough and secure enough to make your own decision based on what's going on around you, what do you feel like, what allows you to be like that? Why do you, like, what do you think happened to you specifically, or you personally, where you were able to develop that quality of making what you feel is the best choice, like for you, your family, your life, without succumbing to that pressure? Like, what were the things you think that were important to you that happened in your life?
Well, okay, so for my life, I think like one of the things was that I knew early on. I don't want to be weird about this.
No, it's fine.
But I knew early on in my life that, like for example, going to a school dance was supposed to be really fun and really cool. I've used school dance before, right? It's supposed to be fun and cool. Prom was supposed to be really fun and cool. High school experience, that's supposed to be really fun and cool. All these experiences that people tell you, birthday parties. Oh, it's the best. All these things, I didn't think they were fun and cool. I thought they were annoying and kind of
Inconvenient.
Well, just like I got to pretend to be who I'm not. I learned that from a very early age. So that might be the thing there, that I knew that I just kind of did things with my gut feeling, maybe common sense. But I also, when I chose not to do a lot of things, like even going to party, I'm not saying I never went to a party, but choosing what I used to do. So when I was playing junior, and my son's like this very much, right? When I played junior in the summer times, and junior and later, we would have, if we were having a couple beers with the boys, then it would be 10 o'clock at night up in Northern Ontario, in Northern Ontario, or in summertime in the Northern Ontario, whatever, it doesn't matter. And it'd be Saturday night at 10:30. We're having a great time at our buddy's house, but then they'd want to go to City Lights in Sudbury. So we'd have to go and be half hammered, go downtown to wait in a lineup for
an hour
or two, or get to know the bouncers, go in there, crowd, like it's jam packed with people. You can't hear, waiting half an hour to get a drink or whatever. It's like, that's annoying. I was just having fun. So I don't want to do this. So I just knew, like, okay, I knew what I liked, knew what I didn't like, knew what made sense to me. And if I didn't have friends at the end of the day because they didn't like those choices, oh well, I didn't care. I never lost friends, so it was fine. And I think that's part of it. And then I enjoyed sports growing up, so I didn't like to do a lot of other things like sports. And I was close with my brothers. I don't know. I don't know exactly why, but
Okay, so we'll
I
flip.
learned that, and then as I got a little bit older, so I'm not talking about youth, talking about in critical years when I needed to search, like, how am I, like, this decision alone is different. When I was kind of done hockey and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I was lost in my head and like, what do I do now? Because I put identity as a hockey player. So then I had to make decisions, and what did I do? I chose to search. Right. So in years where I should have, like, could have been doing like all the fun stuff, I searched and I read and I read and I read and I read. And that might have put a thing in my head that I give you, I've read that actually. If you do what everybody else is doing, you're gonna get the exact same thing as everybody else. Like stuff like that, right? So maybe that added to it. So by the time I had kids, I wasn't fooled by, you know, someone selling me something like a private lesson or a spring tournament or whatever. It's like I see what's going on. And then when I was building my actual hockey business, and I know I sound contradictory a bit, but I don't sell my shit. You know what I mean? I don't sell hockey. I don't. It came to me like when I started my business. I do the marketing thing, but it's like I don't try to tell people you're going to get this and bullshit them, right? You know what I mean?
Like you're trying to be genuine in
Yeah,
what
it's
is
just this is
going
what
on.
I do, man.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is what I do. If you like it, and I don't cater to everybody, whatever. So, anyways, but I saw that in my business. I remember watching I was up in Sudbury one time watching a couple of my guys that played in the OHL at the time. Cassian was one of them, and Danny Maggio. And I went and watched a game, and I remember watching the next day. I was doing an interview or something like that at the arena, and I was watching this guy yelling at these kids and telling them. And anyways, I looked and I said, that guy's coaching and telling these kids how to play hockey, because I recognized him from he played house league, and this guy was like convicted on this is how you play hockey, like so much conviction. And I went, oh my god, okay, so this is what most minor hockey is. This is what it mostly is: people that have no clue telling everybody what to do, and then people just follow.
So then, did you feel
what
like
a long story? Eh?
No, but it's good to give a little bit of the psychology, because you were someone who, for like your track record with yourself and now with your own son, is you were able to navigate it relatively successfully by any real metric that you could use. So understanding the psychology of you is something that people can learn from, because you, like, Charlie never did any spring hockey, right?
And so here's the one thing that's like critically important to all this thing, like a private lesson. Is a private lesson good or bad? It depends. It depends. The 300 private lessons in 2 years is probably excessive. 15 in 2 years or 15 a year might be necessary. Not necessary, but might be beneficial. Might be. Are spring tournaments necessary? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Depends on the player. So what I can say, the difference between, like, to all these questions, the difference is, I'll use myself and my core friend group. We loved hockey and we loved sports. No one ever told us to go and practice.
Like when you were a kid, you're saying?
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was evident. That's all we did. And people could say, yeah, my son's the same way. It's like, we'll see. It's easy when you just say, here's a stick, here's a net, I'm going to build you a thing in the back, I'm going to do this. And you give it all this stuff and they shoot pucks. Like, yeah, that's fine. But are they walking to a rink that takes 15 minutes or 10 minutes in the freezing cold? Are they willing to do that? Number one. Do they look at, when they meet a hockey player or something like that, do they want to be like that person? Do they just try to do sit-ups because they think it's cool, or go for a run, like stuff like that? So me and my friend group loved hockey. A very small friend group, by the way, right? Very, very small. So if there was an opportunity to go with a guy and get a private lesson, maybe that would be a good idea. But it wouldn't be just a private lesson. Like, here's what I see with a lot of private lessons. All it means, a private lesson, is you and I, or me and you and two kids, when I typically see it, with zero purpose. A private lesson to me is like, skating is not even a private lesson to me. A specific part of skating is a lesson to me. Do you know what I mean? if you're going out just to go and get some touches and stuff, like that's not a private lesson. And whatever, you do whatever the hell you want. But if without the purpose, there's no point. And without that person really having a big desire to be better, there's no point. The spring, all these different things, your parents getting intense. If your child, so that's what I recognize in my kids. So I got 3 kids, 1 boy, the oldest, or a daughter. She's 30 right now. Right? She was very good in track, very good in volleyball, all really, really good athlete. As a parent, the best that we could ever hope for, if we didn't even go down there until she was older, best we could ever hope for her was somehow getting a scholarship, some sort of scholarship in volleyball or track. Realistically, this is where your head has to be. I got the middle finger up here. Realistically, to be a volleyball player, she's 5'7" or 5'8". So, realistically, probably not a volleyball player, right? Does she have the good springs on her and stuff? Oh yeah, pretty good. But she's still 5'7", 5'6", or 5'7". Good athlete. So probably not getting a scholarship. Number 2, she was good in track, and she had not offers, but she was very good in track with very little work. So let's just put those 2 together as my daughter. So am I gonna go freaking nuts? Right? Am I going to go nuts and say, okay, but I think you could be a volleyball player? Even like, I think you haven't compared her to anybody. I've compared her to a small group. We're going into these tournaments. She was pretty good, but she wasn't jumping over the net, hammering the ball down. She was it was called a libero. She was very good at it, and she loved it, and that's what was the point of it. So would I give her? Would we want her to go to a volleyball school to learn how to be a better? Yes, I get that. Little bit. I'm not going to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but I'm going to give her something so she can feel better about it and play longer. So if she plays longer, she's out of trouble longer, and maybe she pursues it. Maybe she can play in the college she went to or university locally. Maybe that helps her. Maybe it's a rec league, but it's great for her recreation. There's volleyball leagues all over the place, right? The track was the same thing, but you know what happened? She didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
She didn't give a shit. She liked it for the 3 months or 2 months she was in it, but she didn't do one thing after. So how much money am I going to put into this? Time and concern and go. Are you going to run to? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? How come you're not doing that? Well, like, why would I do that? So that's the answer to all the questions. It was, and Carter was our next one. He's 28 years old. He was a great hockey player. He had he had oatmeal north of the eyebrows though, right? When it came to the game of hockey, like they can't think the game, but he could have learned it. Great skater, thick, and I think he only had 1 year without body checking. He would bury people, like guys. You could hear the ribs cracking when he hit them. You know how thick he is, right?
Yeah. And there was hitting right from day one back then.
And he was a great skater, decent shot, can hammer guys, liked hockey. Again, came to a couple of our camps. So this is like my second kid, guys. It's not like my third one here, Charlie, was like, this is how you feed him in the thing. Just to be honest with you, Carter couldn't give 2 rips. He liked playing hockey with his friends. Quit when he was in Bantam because he's like, I just want to do farm shit. So we were concerned, like, okay, don't be doing the stupid shit, right? So it's like, why would I push him? He was done. So private lessons and stuff, like, there's only so much. This guy, so my youngest one, well, like, if there's anybody that wanted it and needed it and could use it, it was him. And then we learned that, well, what are we going to do though? Like, the desire to be a good hockey player was the most important thing. Anything that we could add to it was a bonus if it made sense, and most of it didn't.
Yeah.
Long answer?
No, that's great.
Okay.
I love it's just the rational. You appeal to my mindset, obviously. So it's like it's just like the honest, rational view of what the circumstance is, and not letting your feelings blind it, or like the trying to do the most to make your kid a celebrity athlete and like that kind of shit. Because I always go back, like, since I talked to Aaron on the podcast here, and he said that like parents get that drug of my kid is so good. Like I want people to tell me that my kid is so good, and like not getting sucked into that loop.
There's motivated parents and there's motivated players, and they usually don't live in the same house.
Yeah. With that framework now, I'll go to back to like the specific questions. So for this guy talking about his young kids, the next kind of thing that he was getting at was, if we don't try to keep up at a young age, will our children ever have a chance to compete for a spot on a team against these other kids that are already so much better? So remember, like the goal for this guy was saying, if they could go up and play high school hockey at some point, that's what they want. If they don't keep up with these kids and doing what they're doing, are they gonna have a chance? Or are they gonna be too far behind? What's gonna be the outcome there, and what are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, they definitely will have a chance. They definitely would have a chance. I mean, if they play once a week and that's it, and they don't practice and do anything, like, you limit your chances. But if they're staying, they go to practice, they go to play a couple games, they do some recreational stuff, they practice a little bit, like that's and they do it with some passion and intensity, And if they're, having said that, if they're zero good, if they're no good at all, then no.
Yeah, like, like what I struggle with this too, because then like his next point kind of tails with this is, do things eventually even out? And like they do and they don't. It's always like, it depends. And so you can find the example of the kid that was going crazy ape shit doing everything when they were young and went to the brick tournament and went to this and did all this stuff, and they end up going on and being in the OHL and then maybe going to the NHL and whatever. Like that person does exist. So I understand. You look at that, you see that, and you feel like, oh yeah, that's the path. Like that's the way to do it, because that's the loudest one. Like that's the loudest example that you're gonna see and hear about. You don't really hear about the kid that like maybe played some level of AAA when they were young, or even AA or A or whatever it is, or even didn't play until they were 12, 13. And then they go on and play Division I and go up to the NHL or play pro or have a really long career in Europe or play in the KHL. Or you don't hear about any of these guys because it's not the highlight reel, marketable, sexy story that the 10-year-old or the 9-year-old, or I don't even know what age it is at the brick, that they go to the brick tournament when they're 9. And that's like a really noteworthy accomplishment for a really young kid. And because you don't hear about some of these other things, you don't realize that is actually the more likely path and outcome. But instead, it's like you're hearing the stuff that's in your face all the time. So it's like,
well, it's the set. Like, no one's putting a brochure out as a hockey school or a spring tournament saying, okay, here are the guys that played for us that have never done our stuff before.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. It's always going to be like, I can put my list together, right? I have trained Aaron Ekblad and Steve Ott and Mike Weber and Zach Cassian, and go down the list of players, right? And then people go, oh wow, we should go there. It's like, yeah, but they were them.
Yeah, exactly.
They were them.
Yeah.
And it's not, they didn't hear about the really Matt Martin. I use Matt Martin as a pretty good example for us, because I wouldn't take credit for training him in any way. He's used our services sometimes, right? And but there's a poster boy there that, to answer that question, is he never played AAA, I think he played house for most of the time, and then A hockey up until his draft year, and then junior C, but barely, and then OHL with Steven Stamkos, and then the NHL.
Like, what the hell?
Almost 20 years in the NHL. Whereas there's a lot of guys roughly in that age that I could go and rhyme off. Like a lot of guys that I personally know that did every spring tournament, did every private lesson they can. They tried to skate with me whenever they can. They went out of town to do things, and it was so heavily invested in being a super, like thinking they had something here. And then as soon as any adversity, or they didn't get drafted, or they didn't get drafted as high as they thought, and then they played junior, and then they hit the real adversity and had to learn how to play real hockey, then they were done. Never see them again, driving a truck or something.
So like, and this is kind of my thing. So like when he asks, like, does it eventually even out? It's like, it could, it also could not. It just depends, right? So then the next question is, does it make sense to do all of this extra stuff? Will that increase the chances of you being here or there or whatever? And again, it's like, there's no, I've read so much on this stuff. There's no stat that says if you do more when you're younger, that will lead you to be the better guy that makes the OHL or the NHL or whatever. If you looked at, I would be curious, these are stats I actually don't know. If you looked at the like highest concentration of, let's say, NHL players, where do they come from? It's going to be, Toronto. It's going to be, I don't know, Minnesota. It's going to be, or the GTA, maybe not just Toronto, the GTA, maybe somewhere in Minnesota, maybe in New York somewhere. The densely populated areas are going to be where
that play hockey,
right? That play hockey are going to be
like
where
Hong Kong doesn't produce.
Hong Kong is a serious answer.
Eventually, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, Jesus. Hong Kong. But I would be curious to know if you did the like population adjustment, right? So
like
if you
per
just
capita,
yeah,
you mean?
per capita, is it that much more than anywhere else? So like, would Toronto's per capita amount of hockey players be higher than
I guess
Windsor or
so
the next place?
The highest is Saskatchewan, right?
I think it is. It's somewhere out west. Yeah,
it is. It's Saskatchewan produces per capita.
Oh, it is. You know that for sure? Well, or ish.
It was.
Okay, so
and that's not a joke.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so,
obviously.
Yeah. You mean like Hong Kong?
Yeah, it's not a joke. Like
right.
Saskatchewan per capita, which Saskatchewan is not a city.
Yeah, right.
It's a province, but it's like a province that's
a fraction of the population.
It's nothing.
So
like,
and this is my point. So it's like, okay, so if I do all this extra stuff, the reason I went to that example was because a lot of kids think, well, if I move to play in the GTA, for example, that would be better because there's more exposure and like more kids go in the draft out of that area and like whatever. And I'm sure you can make some arguments for that. But nonetheless, when it all like comes out in the wash, does it make any difference? Will it increase your chances of if the goal is to go on and play like Ocho? There's no consistency there, right?
There's no success. This is what's crazy. Aaron Ekblad is a client of mine. He went first overall in the OHL, and then he went first overall in the NHL, and he played here for the Sun County Panthers. The reason he went first overall in both leagues is because he was the best player available in both these leagues, more or less. It didn't matter if he played for anybody. It didn't matter. He was the best player. Didn't matter what lessons he went to. He was the best player. Played in whatever. So this year in the OHL draft, for example, you can move all your kids to Toronto if you want. That's fine. And it's good. Go nuts, man. I don't, for me, moving my 14, 15-year-old kid away just to play hockey in a good program made no sense to me because he can play here. And this year's draft is the GTA, they produce a lot of players. Strictly, as you said, there's volume of players. And it's a really good league. I'm not going to argue that. So is the Detroit League, right? And all that. But the first overall pick his name was Caden McGregor this year in the OHL. He's from Ottawa, played in the Ottawa League. The second overall pick was Jaco Wyzek, who is from he goes to the school, and he went to Guelph second overall, and he played for Sun County. So no one had to move away anywhere. The reason they were drafted and then my good buddy who's going to be on the podcast, I think next week we're going to do it, is Hudson Chitteroni, Brock Chitteroni. Sorry. So Terry's son went third overall. He plays in the Sioux, but he played in Barrie this year. They moved away because they lived in Marathon at first. And there's no hockey up there really. But anyways, up until that point, they lived up north, and now he played for Barrie and he got drafted out of it. So the first three picks were not in Toronto. So you just have to be a good hockey player.
Yeah.
Did I go off on a weird chant?
No.
Okay.
No, just like bringing it back.
That's it. You just have to be a good hockey player.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you play.
Bringing it back to the question, like he's asking, like, do things even out? Are they going to have a chance? It's like, yeah, everyone has a chance all the time. There's nothing that's going to keep you out, provided the kid keeps playing and keeps working at whatever level. There's always a chance because you never know which kid is going to follow which path, and there is not a recipe to follow. There isn't, so that's something that I constantly revisit when we're answering questions like this, because I can find you any kid that, or I can find you an example of a kid that did it any which way you want to describe. You can find the kid that never skated till he was 12. You can find the kid that only ever skated and only played hockey. You can find everything in between, so there's not a recipe to follow. It's just doing what works for you. His next question was, do most of these kids that go super intense really young burn out by 12 years old? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's some kids that might, and probably because it's kind of like you were saying, you loved hockey, and maybe these kids just actually didn't, and they're being forced to do things that maybe they don't want to do, or they're being forced to play more than they want to play.
That, and some people have a DNA where when they do, sports is they're athletes, and they get athletic stuff. And what I mean by that, not just the physical part, but the emotional part and the work ethic part. So like there's some kids that you can put on the ice every single day and they're going to give you, 60% effort. Anything hard, they're just not going to do. For example, like we did battle drills today and there's a couple guys that got bumped a little bit. And it's like, it was almost like their body language and everything they said about themselves was, I don't want to play like that though. I don't like that part. It's like, well, that is the part that makes you a hockey player. So all this stuff, right? You got other people that can step on the ice and no matter what it is, they're going as hard as they can, or they're as focused as they can, or they're trying to get better and better and better. So,
well, I think, but maybe like the last part, because I want like when we talk about stuff with kids too, this is why I try to defer to you as much as I can, because I don't have kids and I'm trying to not be one of these people that acts like I know when I don't know because I don't have kids. I feel like I have a sense, but this is why I like tossing it over to you. The last comment I wanted to finish on is him saying that he wants his kids to be able to play high school when the time comes, assuming they still enjoy it. But then he said, it's hard to watch these 5 to 7-year-olds on travel teams and not want your children to be that good. It makes you want to join the arms race, even though I know it's not healthy or right for the kids at such a young age. So my last question or ask of you would be like thoughts on that idea of like, it's the keep up with the Joneses thing.
Yeah, it's a great question.
What would you say on just maybe, I don't know if even phrasing it as resisting that is the right way of putting it or whatever. Cause like there could be moments where it's like, yeah, everyone's doing this thing that might be a little excessive, but I feel like doing it this time, like whatever. Right. So like, what are your maybe closing thoughts on that kind of topic?
I think it's just unrealistic. Like I've got my kid and you know what is for my kids. So my thing is when you're raising your kids, it's like, it's so easy to look at what you don't have. This is what I always say to people. I can't tell you what to do anymore because most people don't listen. You're going to look at your kid, and because it's a sport, you see other people maybe doing well and doing all these other things. You feel like you're not doing enough for your kid, and at the end of the day, you're most likely going to end up in the same place. And I know that doesn't feel comforting, or it's like maybe it's negative or obvious. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's like if your kids really want to play hockey. And I'm not even talking about being a pro, I'm talking about just getting better at hockey. If they love hockey, they love hockey. And they'll find a way to get better. And if they're just not talented, then they're just not talented. You can't get upset about it, right? But the thing is, it's a really hard game to play. And if you're really, the better you are, the more you're going to question whether you can get to that next level. Because when you look at coming from, midget to junior, people don't understand how hard junior is. And I'm not saying it's impossibly hard, but it's like you have to be a really good hockey player, number one. Then you have to be willing to learn the game. Then you have to be willing to have the discipline to stay focused and actually get better and improve and work out and say no to things and all these different things. So those things are hard. And if you can do that, and then it's like the disappointment. If you don't get drafted to the level as high as you wanted to, or if you don't get drafted in the NHL, do you quit or do you keep going? Is that roadblock enough to shut you down, or does it motivate you, or can you flush it out? All these things add up. Like, and then you'll look and say, can I actually get to that level? You'll question it. If you fight people, right? And you're pretty tough in junior. Like, can you do that in the NHL? And you'll question that. It'll go through your head like, oh, that's a big boy. He's 240, or that's a big, heavy guy. Oh, he's fought 300 times. That's right. Or if you're going to one-on-ones, corners, and all these different things. So you'll test yourself. So you have to really want it. and you have to really be willing to work, and you have to have a base level of talent. So as a mom and dad, I always say, be careful what you wish for, because it's not always what you want. And I have one of the parents on Charlie's team that told me that. He goes, I heard you say that once, and he goes, since I've been in the OHL, or small experience, like after 1 year, he goes, wow, is that true? Be careful what you wish for. He goes, all these things that I wanted for my kid, because I thought he loved hockey, and he does. He goes, just doesn't work out the way you want it. I go, no, like, be careful what you wish for as a parent. Is like, if your kid happens to be good enough, like really good, I'm not talking getting to high school, but I'm talking really good, then there's a really good chance at 15, 16, and 17, he's gone. He's out of your house. Is that what you wish for? Because that's a regret. Not a regret, but it's a thing in my heart that I have that's very, it just oozes out of me. Is like, I feel like just being a dad for a couple more years would have been good for me, but it was necessary for him to move away. But that's like, there's a part of me that I go, man, I let my kid go move away at 15 years old, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like I missed out on things.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if I'm getting your message out of that correctly, talking about trying to keep up with other people are doing, the arms race, so to speak. The two things I pulled out of that you're saying is just kind of like appreciate like your kids for what they are, what they have, what they can do, and you don't have that much control over it, and so you can feel more impactful when they're younger because it's a small pool, So if you try to do this extra thing and this extra thing and this extra thing, you could get ahead of the people maybe around you a little bit.
Yeah, you can.
But over time,
if you're good enough. Yeah.
But over time, it's like that stuff will go away. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of people out there doing stuff, So I feel like that's kind of good advice to finish on. So, okay, I have to stop.
Okay, bye.
So we'll talk to you guys next week. See you later.
All right.